Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see very important articles that appear in our today's Hindi newspaper. So let's get started with our discussion. First I'll let you know important topics of the day and we are going to discuss each and every topic in prelims and as well as mains dimensions, and at last I'll be giving you the prelims practice questions as well so that you'll be understanding how a particular question will come from that topic. Okay. Now let us see the topics of the day. The first topic is Supreme Court status SC status only for Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs. It is nothing but scheduled caste status is for only Hindus, Buddhists and Sikhs. So this article is talking about scheduled caste status. It is nothing but reservation. So this topic is important from polity point of view from GS paper 2. And next topic is from discusses Strait of Hormuz, conflict in West Asia during call with Modi. So this article is talking about discussions between India and US related to Strait of Hormuz. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under international relations. And next topic is PSLV setbacks will help in learning, says ISRO chief. So here you have to know about what is PSLV, that is Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. And recently we saw that there are failures in this PSLV. But now ISRO chief is telling that this setbacks will help in learning. This topic is important from GS paper 3 under science and technology. And next topic is deepening global corruption as a pointer for India. So this article is talking about corruption in our country. Recently corruption perception index had been released by Transparency International. So this article is talking about in detail about that report. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under governance and even from GS paper 4 under ethics. Next topic is when the Chief Justice steps away. So this article is talking about Chief Election Commissioner and appointment of that Chief Election Commissioner. And here you have to see about why Chief Justice had been stepped away. This article is important from GS paper 2 under polity again. Okay, say this article, read out the title guys. Scheduled caste status only for Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs. And now tell me what is a keyword that you have to see from this article. First you have to know about this scheduled caste status, what is it? And next you have to see why it is only for Hindus, Buddhists and as well as Sikhs. And here you have to see who are like excluded from the scheduled caste category, and you have to see why this kind of decision taken now. So and even you have to say about what is the history or background regarding this issue. Okay, now you guys tell me SC or ST category, why this category came up by the government? Yes, these are the people who are socially and economically backward societies, right? So why they are socially and economically backward societies? If you want to understand this, again you have to go back to ancient history time, especially Vedic period. During this Vedic period, this caste system got evolved, right? At that time we have Chaturvarna system. In this Chaturvarna system, we have Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. The people out of this Chaturvarna system were scheduled caste or Dalits, and next one is scheduled tribes. Okay, from that period onwards, from that Vedic period onwards, these people, they are socially and as well as economically backward. At that time when this caste system was evolved, especially during this early Vedic period, it was based on what? Occupation. But in later Vedic period, it became based on birth. During early Vedic period, if they change occupation, they used to change the caste. But after this later Vedic period, it became very rigid. Even though if they are changing their occupation because of the birth, they cannot change their caste system. And from that time onwards, you are facing this socially backwardness and even economically backwardness because of the occupation they do. So now, after we got independence, our government came up with this provision of reservation for this socially and economically backward classes to bring them as par with mainstream society. At that time they said that this reservation is not permanent, it is temporary. Till this people comes as per with this mainstream society, this reservation will be provided. Under this reservation, they are going to get opportunities in education and as well as in employment or in job opportunities. That is the idea here. Okay. But what is happening here? We are extending that reservation for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe by making certain amendments, right? Okay, now let us see exactly what is this article talking about. Now, Supreme Court ruled that only individuals who are belonging to this Hindu, Sikh or Buddhist faiths, only these three religions, they are eligible to claim this scheduled caste status. And Supreme Court also clarified one thing, that is, if any community converted from one religion to another religion, such as Christianity, then there will be immediate and complete loss of scheduled caste status. That is this Supreme Court judgment is about. And if you see the background of this scheduled caste status, so we have scheduled caste order of 1950 which originally restricted the scheduled caste status exclusively to Hindus to address social disabilities caused by untouchability. So if you go back to this Varna system, this Varna system was present in only Hindus, right? So in this Hindus we have Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, and these Dalits and ST, they are out of this Chaturvarna system. So because of this, they are socially and economically backward class, right? So after we got independence in 1947, we came up with this scheduled caste order, and government started providing this reservation or scheduled caste status for this people who belongs to this Hindus. That is the major idea. Earlier, whenever we came up with the scheduled caste, according to this Constitution Scheduled Caste Order 1950, we started giving the scheduled caste status exclusively for Hindus. Why? At that time only we have this problem of untouchability. And after we came up with our drafting of constitution also, we included Article 17, which talks about abolition of untouchability. So against which people we are doing this untouchability at that time? Only the scheduled caste. So here only in this Hindus, right? So at that time we came up with this providing of scheduled caste status only for this Hindus to address this problem of untouchability. Okay, and this order was amended twice. After we came up with this order in 1950, twice we amended this. First one in year 1956 and second one in year 1990. So what we did in 1956 is we added even Sikhs also. In 1950 we included Sikh converts based on Kaka Kelkar Commission report. Now these people, they are also eligible to get this category of scheduled caste. And later on in 1990, we also included one more religion, that is Buddhist converts. So this Buddhist converts had been included in the scheduled caste based on high powered panel report. Okay, because these are also considered as untouchable communities. So because of this, by 1990, in Hindus, Buddhist and as well as Sikhs, they are getting this scheduled caste category status. Okay, now here who were excluded here? Dalit Christians are excluded. That means who are already SC but they converted into Christian Dalits, and Muslims, they have consistently been excluded with Union government. Okay, with Union government cited that they are Indian Christians from depressed classes, and even Registrar General of India also said that untouchability is not practiced in Christianity or Islam. So why these people are excluded is they are not practicing untouchability either in this Christianity or Islam. So because of this, why we have to give the scheduled caste status? So because of this, only Hindus, Buddhist and Sikhs, they are eligible to get this scheduled caste status. Are you understanding? So this scheduled caste status is given only on one ground, that is untouchability. If there is untouchability, they will get that status. If there is no untouchability, there is no scheduled caste status. So because of this, Muslims and as well as Christian converted Dalits, they are not included under this scheduled caste status case. Okay, so that is about the background of this scheduled caste status. But what Supreme Court said now? On 24th March 2026, our Supreme Court bench headed by this Mishra upheld that Andhra Pradesh High Court decision confirming that only Hindus, Sikhs and Buddhists can claim this scheduled caste status. So here Andhra Pradesh High Court gave a judgment that only Hindus, Sikhs and Buddhists, they can get the scheduled caste status. And finally this appeal went to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court also said that yes, whatever this Andhra Pradesh High Court said is right. Only Hindus, Buddhists and Sikhs are going to get the scheduled caste status. So because of this, it is a news case. Okay, and court also said that no person who professes a religion different from Hinduism shall be deemed to be a member of scheduled caste, and especially conversion to any religion including Christianity results in immediate and absolute loss of scheduled category status and benefits and even protections and reservations which are entitled under that SC status. Okay, and now you guys tell me what is the impact of this ruling. What do you think? Now Supreme Court itself said that only Hindus, Sikhs and Buddhists can get this scheduled caste status. Then what will be the impact? Our country is multi-religious country, very diverse country regarding this religion. So if he says only this people will get this scheduled caste status and this religion people are getting this protections and benefits under this SC status, then other people will be silent. It may also lead to protest and as well as outrage. That is the one impact. And next one is, and next anything, any impact that we can see in our society? Come on, think and tell me. Online students, tell me in the comment box. Huh? Article 14 is affected. Okay. Right to equality. Okay, accepted. Next. Govind. So first one here is Dalit Christians and Muslims. They are estimated around 3 crore by some studies. They remain ineligible under this SC reservation, especially in education as well as jobs and legislatures. So because of this, what happens? They might be excluded even though they are socially and economically background, they are not getting their rights. That is the first thing. And next one here is, if they are not included under this SC category, can they invoke SC/ST Atrocities Act or Civil Rights Act? No. So here they are also going to lose their atrocity safeguards now. And that will lead to increased caste-based violation also against that communities. Yes, that is possible thing. So that is the first foremost impact of this Supreme Court ruling. And next one here is, the conversion also leads to the loss of affirmative action. Then many critics are saying that it discourages religious freedom. Yes or no? We have Article 25 to Article 28 talks about right to religious freedom. So what exactly this Article 25 says? It is your fundamental right to practice, profess any religion. So if I wants to convert into Christian or if I wants to convert into Islam, I have this right which is given in our constitution itself. If I am changing into another religion, if I am losing my reservation benefits, means obviously it is affecting my religious freedom as well. So even though if I want to convert into one religion, because of this loss of benefits, affirmative action, everything, I may not convert from one religion to another religion. So obviously it will be affecting my Article 25, right? That is the next important one. And as I said, it will also undermine right to equality. Okay, if I am belonging to that so and so religion, I will be not getting that status, despite of economically and socially backward. So obviously it will be affecting the right to equality. And next one here is, it will also intensify the demands for constitutional amendment that this Christian organizations and Dalit groups were already urging center to file a review petition. So do you know what is the review petition, curative petition, special leave petition? Have you heard this words at least? So here in this article they are saying about review petition. Okay, normally you have to know about 3 important keywords from polity, and many a times UPSC asked question on that. First one is special leave petition. Please make a note. You will not get this in your Lakshmikant. First one is special leave petition. Second one is review petition. And third one is curative petition. This time you may get a question regarding review petition and as well as curative petition. Why review petition you can expect a question is, recently we discussed about Sabarimala case, right? In Sabarimala case, what is the judgment of Supreme Court earlier? Women are allowed into temples. There should be no discrimination based on gender. That is the thing which mainly said. But now again they filed a review petition. Do you know this? We discussed that. So this time you may get a question regarding review petition, curative petition, special leave petition. So what exactly the difference here is? If there is any case which was filed in any court, either it may be like district courts or high court. Now what happened if Supreme Court wants to take that suo motu case? Then it is called a special leave petition. It is entirely the discretion of Supreme Court. If Supreme Court wants to take that case, suo motu, it can take case which is there at any level. It may be district level, it may be at high court level. That is called a special leave petition. And what is this review petition? Already Supreme Court gave a judgment. Already Supreme Court gave a judgment, and if that judgment is opposed by people, now people can ask Supreme Court to review its own judgment. Are you understanding? So this is called as review petition. Now in the case of Sabarimala case also people filed this review petition, and in this case also, because Supreme Court already said that yes, only these communities are going to get the scheduled caste status. So now Christians and Muslims, they filed a review petition to review your judgment. It is not right. Are you understanding? And curative petition is already judgment had been given many years, it had been happening. Now if they want to get again one more judgment, then that is called as curative petition. It happens in very rare cases. And one more difference between this curative petition and review petition is, review petition happens in open court, but curative petition will happen inside the private members. Only inside the room this curative petition will happen, but this review petition will be happening in the open court. So this time you may get a question regarding review petition and curative petition differences. So do work on this case. Okay. Now here Christian organizations and Dalit groups, they are not silent. They filed a review petition, or they want to legislate the inclusion of this community somewhere. And next one here is, because of this judgment of Supreme Court, it prevents immediate expansion of the SC list, and it will avoid the pressure on 15% of SC reservation quota and related political backlash from existing SC communities. So what about the percentage of reservation given for STs? It is 7.5%, and for SCs it is 15%, and for OBCs 27%, right? So here, because of this ruling, everything like immediate expansion of this SC list will not happen, and they will be having a pressure on this 15% of reservation provided by the government in education as well as in jobs case. So these are the some impacts that you have to remember. Okay, see this next article guys. Trump discusses Strait of Hormuz, conflict in West Asia during call with Modi. What exactly this article talking about? India and US are talking about Strait of Hormuz. This is the old story only. There is nothing new to tell. So you have to say about Strait of Hormuz. For 100% you will be getting question on this map of Strait of Hormuz. There is no choice at all this time. And next here, why US is discussing about Strait of Hormuz regarding India? Why US is concerned about this? Okay, only Indian ships are allowing to pass here. Next. this talk is very important because US President spoke with the Prime Minister for the first time since the conflict erupted in West Asia and discussed the war that has killed at least 6 Indians in the region and impacted free movement of energy resources through the Strait of Hormuz. So recently the ties between India and US are becoming better, right? So in what way ties between India and US are becoming better? India joined Pax Silica, which is US-led organization. Next, US also reduced tariffs on India related to what? Importing of oil from Russia. Yes, because of this situation in West Asia, now US gave permission for India to buy oil from Russia. And next we had agreement recently with US. Yes, what is that agreement is about? This 50% of tariff had been reduced to 18%. And what India said, India gave a strict warning that we need to know exactly on which countries how much amount of tariffs US is imposing, and we need goods wise and as well as country wise list. Then only we will be finalizing this agreement. Yes. Okay. So here this article is saying that US is having concerns regarding the Strait of Hormuz. It is not because of Indian interest, because India is also importing oil from US and as well as other countries, right? So all these are passing through the Strait of Hormuz only. So overall the trade of this US is also getting affected. So because of this, yes, India and US are having talks now regarding the Strait of Hormuz. So indirectly, US is asking India to talk with Iran regarding the Strait of Hormuz case. Okay, because India and Iran are having good ties, and Iran is allowing our Indian ships to pass through that Strait of Hormuz. Okay, clear? Yeah. Next, let us see the next article. Okay, look at the title. PSLV setbacks will help in learning, says ISRO chief. Tell me what is this title talking about? Where can you use this article exactly? And how you can expect a question from this area. First of all, it is talking about PSLV. What is the full form of PSLV? Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, right? Okay, next. Okay, you have to know about launch vehicles. What are these launch vehicles? What are these launch vehicles? Simply, can I say they are rockets? These are the vehicles that are used to launch satellites in different orbits, right? So those are called as launch vehicles. So if you see about development of launch vehicles in India, we have 4 stages of development. First one is satellite launch vehicle, that is a stage 1. And in the stage 2 development, we have ASLV, augmented satellite launch vehicle. And in the stage 3, we have PSLV. And in stage 4, we have GSLV. So these are the different stages of development of launch vehicles in our country. So what is the difference here is, first one here is payload. Payload is nothing but carrying capacity is different from one stage to another stage. And next one is fuel. Okay, fuel is different. And next one here is, what is the next important one? Orbits, which they can reach. So these are the 3 differences between these 4 stages. So normally the first stage will be having less payload capacity. That means it can carry less weights or less weighted satellites into space. And normally these first 3 stages, they will be carrying the satellites to LEO, that is low Earth orbit or sun synchronous orbit only. So if you want to move beyond, obviously we need to have more powerful launch vehicle, and the most powerful launch vehicle here is GSLV. Okay. So if you see the orbits, if you consider this as Earth, around this Earth we have different orbits. In these orbits we have elliptical orbits, we have circular orbits. Normally whenever we are placing satellites, we will be placing in this mostly circular orbits. But if you want to place in other orbits, we have like this elliptical orbits also. Do you know this elliptical, circular, what is the difference? Circular means radius is equal, elliptical is nothing but we will be having certain difference, right? So if you see about this circular orbits around this Earth surface, we have first one is low Earth orbit, second one is medium Earth orbit, and last one is high Earth orbit. So high Earth orbit will be more than 35,000 kilometers. Okay, so we will be using this PSLV only to launch this satellites in this low Earth orbits, and if you want to use it beyond, we will be using GSLV, Geostationary Launch Vehicles. Okay. Now let us see about this article. So if you see in the recent past, whatever the launches we did by using this PSLV, they had been failure. Why? Because there was certain technical issues which had been identified in this PSLV vehicle. Because of that, this launches had become failure. But this PSLV is also called as workhorse of ISRO because many successful launches we did by using this PSLV, but we had a setback of continuous 2 to 3 failures by using this PSLV. So now here ISRO chief is saying that by these setbacks we will learn where we are missing out. Whenever you are getting any essay regarding learning out of the mistakes, learning from the past, can we add this article as an example, at least one paragraph? So from that point of view, we have to remember this, that yes, even though if we had setbacks or if we had failures by using this PSLV, now ISRO is trying to overcome that. ISRO is trying to learn from its mistakes. So from that point of view, you can see. And in 2019, there was a question related to this PSLV. And they gave a statement based question and they compared PSLV with GSLV. Okay, so here you have to know about in detail about what is PSLV, what is GSLV, and what exactly the difference. And one important point I want to make a note here is, normally in this PSLV, how many stage of fuel we have? We have 4 stage fuel. We have solid, liquid, liquid. And GSLV only we have 3 stages. What are those 3 stages? We have solid, liquid and cryogenic. Okay, why we are taking this cryogenic? Cryogenic is nothing but we are storing fuel at a very low temperature. So which fuel we will be using in this cryogenic engine? Liquid, not nitrogen. Liquid oxygen and as well as liquid hydrogen, not nitrogen. Okay. So actually the important thing here is we will be using this GSLV to go beyond this low Earth orbit. That means we have to reach very heights. For that, what happens? The weight of this rocket should be minimized. So how this weight of rocket should be minimized? So the fuel which it is carrying should be of low weight. So for that, they started using this cryogenic engine, and because of this cryogenic engine only, we are reaching this high Earth orbit. Okay, are you understanding? And now semi-cryogenic engine is in use. So what is semi-cryogenic? You have to know again difference between this cryogenic and semi-cryogenic. In cryogenic, we will be using liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen as fuel, but here we are using kerosene as fuel. And this is more effective compared to that of this cryogenic engine, and it is very easy to handle it, and as well as it is very easy to store that as well compared to that of this cryogenic engine. And now India is testing the semi-cryogenic. So you may get a question this time based on comparing of this cryogenic and semi-cryogenic. Because earlier they asked about PSLV, GSLV, and now we are doing test related to the semi-cryogenic. You may get a question regarding cryogenic versus semi-cryogenic. Now you have to keep a star mark for this. This is expected question this time. Semi-cryogenic, what is the fuel? What are the advantages over this cryogenic? Like that they can frame the statements. Okay. Yeah, now let us see about this PSLV. If you see the context, this article is saying that ISRO chairman said that he did not consider PSLV C61 and C62 missions as failure. Back to back 61 and as well as 62 were failures. But he said that These provide opportunities to learn where we are going wrong. Okay, so he said that whenever there is a setback, we don't consider it as a failure, but we consider it as an opportunity to learn and strengthen our system. Okay, you can use this kind of statements whenever you are writing your essay also. So from that point of view, I took this article. Okay, so which are those consecutive failures of PSLV C61 and C62? They are linked to three-stage anomalies. So here there are certain problems in this PSLV, and that led to this out of control of this PSLV, and that led to the failure. If you see about this PSLV, it is India's third generation launch vehicles. First one is satellite launch vehicle SLV, second one is ASLV, third one is PSLV, and fourth one is GSLV. So here PSLV is third generation launch vehicle developed by ISRO. Okay, and the first successful launch of this had happened in year 1994 itself. And PSLV has become one of the backbone of India's space launch program. And PSLV was the first Indian rocket to use liquid propulsion system. Before that, we have solid only. So in this SLV and as well as ASLV, we used only solid. Here we used this liquid, and in this GSLV we started using this cryogenic. So that is the difference between this launch vehicles of different stages. And next one here is PSLV is also known as workhorse of ISRO, because we made lots of launches by using this PSLV, and it is one of the success in India. And not only that, it is precise and it is even cost effective as well. So because of this, India is not only launching our own satellites, we are also launching foreign satellites into orbits. And it will be placing satellites into low Earth orbit and as well as sun synchronous polar orbits. Only in these two orbits only PSLV can be used. If you want to go to this medium Earth orbit or high Earth orbit, we cannot use this PSLV. We have to use this GSLV. Okay, and this PSLV had the payload capacity of 1750 kilograms to 600 kilometers sun synchronous polar orbit. So it can carry around 750 kgs of satellite, and it can place in the sun synchronous orbit. And regarding this GTO orbit, it can place in 1425 kgs of satellite it can carry. So you have to remember this payloads as well, very important point. And one of the major achievement of this PSLV is Chandrayaan-1 mission, Mars Orbiter mission, and that's it guys. Okay, so here what ISRO is saying that we want to focus on launch reliability. So now because of this back-to-back failures of this PSLV, now we want to focus on reliability. That means we want to go for proper checks before launching of that, and we need to focus on reliable engineering, and we want to focus on rapid feedback loops, and we want to focus on more validation of this launches before launching of this. So we want to focus on increased reliability. So for this, they are focusing on high scrutiny. What is the scrutiny means? Nothing but checking everything, and they want to focus on full disclosure, and they want to focus on a long-term reputation as well. And next one here is they want to increase transparency after the failures. So we have failure analysis committee in ISRO. So what is failure analysis committee? So if any project had been launched, if it is success, it's okay. If it is a failure, means what happened? It will causes huge losses for ISRO and as well as government of India. We will be losing our satellites, we will be losing our technology, and we will be losing lots of amount of money. So if we want to go for rocket launch, it will not like 100 rupees or 1000 rupees or lakhs, right? It will be like crores of amount we have to invest for the satellite launch. So for that, we have a failure analysis committee, and it will be finding exactly what are the reasons that led to the failure, and this committee will be doing in-depth scrutiny and as well as study after this failure of this mission. And now they are focusing on increasing of transparency in this committee as well. And next one here is they want to diversify launch infrastructure. So here we entirely focusing on the Sriharikota for launching of rockets, right? So we want to reduce this dependency on the Sriharikota, and we want to come up with other launch site. And next one here is we want to accelerate indigenization of critical components. So if you are focusing on this indigenization, or if you are making those components in our country, obviously the cost of production will be reduced, and obviously the cost of launch will be decreased, and obviously if there is any failure also, the burden will be obviously reduced. So in all these areas now ISRO wants to focus after this PSLV back-to-back failure case. Okay, see this next article, look at the title, Deepening Global Corruption as a Pointer for India. This article is very important and you may get a question regarding this corruption perception index. So every year at least one question will be there on indices, and every year you will be getting around 20 to 35 indices will be there in news, and you have to know what is that indices is about, which organization is releasing that index, and what are the highlights of that index, and what is the India's rank. India's rank not only this year but before year as well. Okay, so here Corruption Perception Index 2025 is in news and is released by Transparency International. Write down, Transparency International releases Corruption Perception Index. And actually India's rank had been increased. India's rank in 2025 is 91 out of 182. Please make a note, 91 out of 192 is India's rank. Okay, now let us see what exactly this article is saying. Transparency International released Corruption Perception Index, and it evaluated around 182 countries across the world. In that, India's ranking is 91 out of 182. And this report provides a comprehensive assessment of global corruption trends. And even it tells about what are the causes of this corruption in that country, and it will be giving recommendations to overcome this problem. If you see some facts regarding this Corruption Perception Index, it is used as global corruption ranking in the world and published by non-governmental organization. It is not at all United Nations body, or it is not at all so-and-so country-based body. It is one NGO which will be releasing this index. Okay, and the scoring will be like 0 to 100. 0 means highly corrupt country, 100 means very less corrupt country or clean country. That is the number. And if you see about this key highlights of this index, least corrupt nations, please make a note, we have Denmark, Finland and Singapore. Okay, least corrupt nations are Denmark, Finland and Singapore, and most corrupt nations are South Sudan, Somalia and Venezuela. Okay, because of this Venezuela which is in news. Why Venezuela is in news? President had been taken away by US. Why this president of Venezuela had been taken away? Because of misgovernance, corruption, everything, right? So even that had been said in this Transparency International report also, that Venezuela, Somalia and South Sudan are most corrupt nations in the world. So because of this, again you may get a question based on Venezuela as well. Okay, everything is interconnected. We started getting oil from Venezuela, and even Venezuela is having world's highest oil reserves, and even Venezuela president had been taken away by US. It is affecting the sovereignty of Venezuela, right? So because of all these incidents, you may get a question regarding this Venezuela. It may be based on oil, it may be based on the country sharing boundary with Venezuela, it may be based on the corruption. Clear? If you see what are the causes of corruption in India, first one is there is weak justice and rule of law. The first important point said by this report is there is weak justice and rule of law. Especially there is politicization of judicial appointments, and even there is prosecutorial interference of executive and judiciary, and under-resourcing and lack of independence. So because of all these things, there is increasing of corruption. And next one is there is undue influence on political decision making. So always whenever political financing is happening, there is opaqueness, there is no transparency. That is a major reason. And next one here is shrinking of civic space and media freedom. So mostly NGOs had been restricted and even freedom of speech of this press had been violated. So because of all these things, what is happening here? There is no proper censorship. There is even violence against journalists are happening and even reduced transparency and accountability. So because of this, what is happening here? There is increasing of corruption more and more. And even there is failure in public financial management. If there is no proper budgeting, if there is a deficit financing everything, obviously it will also lead to this corruption. Okay, and what are the recommendations? The first one here is we need to have independent and transparent justice institutions. So if we are having this independent and transparent justice systems, we can control this corruption to some extent. And next one is we have to tackle undue influence of political decision making. So we have to enhance transparency, and as well as we have to have the cap on donations on this political parties, and we have to disclose any lobbying activities. So because of this, we can control this conflict to some extent. And next one is we need to provide easy access to justice. We have to provide direct and representative legal pathways so that we can reduce corruption. And next one is we have to increase civic space and anti-corruption reporting, and we have to give more and more power to these whistleblowers and as well as NGOs, etc. And next one is we have to increase transparency and oversight mechanism on finances in our country, and we have to prevent and detect and we have to punish corruption. Okay, so because of all these things, yes, we can control this corruption to some extent. That these are the recommendations of the report. So whenever you are getting any question regarding this corruption, even in your ethics, you can use directly these points which are given in this report. Okay, corruption perception index. So there you can mention, right, according to this corruption perception report recommendations, we can do all these things. Then you can directly write this point so that it will become a value addition to your answer. Okay, see this next article, guys. Title says when Chief Justice stepped away. So if you see this article clearly, this article is saying that CJI, who is present CJI, name please? Suryakant. Okay, who is the person who is before the Suryakant? Gawai, yes? Okay, so this time in your prelims, you may also expect a question regarding CJI appointment. So now tell me who will become CJI, Chief Justice of India. Senior most judge in the Supreme Court will become CJI, and who will tell that that person is senior most? Who will tell that person is senior most? Who said this Kant is a senior most judge who should become CJI? Who said this? We discussed that in our earlier classes. Outgoing CJI will be deciding who will become the CJI, next CJI, right? So in this CJI, normally the senior most judge of Supreme Court will become CJI. So you have to see everything about the CJI, what is the eligibility and where it is written, whether it is written in Article 124 or not, what is the procedure, okay, how many months before this outgoing CJI will be giving that name. So to whom that name will be given and who will be appointed that person, everything will become very important this year. And I think we already discussed all those things. So just revise your notes. And this time CJI is also very important. Okay. And I'll be giving you the list of around 50 to 70 topics from polity which are in news. So students who are writing exam this year, for sure you have to go through them thoroughly. From that only you will get most of your polity questions. Okay, if you know those topics, then only you will be revising your static things, right? So in that one is CJI. I started listing out the topics of polity so that I am telling. So this curative petition, special petition is also there in news. And even Chief Election Commissioner is also there in news. Legislative Council is there in news. Okay, so I will be giving you the list of this at least 50 to 75 topics of polity, only polity 50 to 75 topics which are there in news from last 1 year. Thoroughly go through that things, guys. You have to do that thoroughly from your current affairs point of view and from your static point of view. Then if you do that, for sure, if you are getting around 17 to 18 questions from polity, you can do minimum 12. 12 for sure you can do. And remaining will be some other static things you can cover from your Lakshmikant, guys. So if you do that, for sure, I can assure you that you can do at least minimum 12 questions out of that. Okay, please remind me, after 15 days I'll be giving you that quality topics. Okay, so this article is saying that Chief Justice of India Surya Kant stepped away from hearing a batch of petitions challenging Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners' appointment, conditions of service and term of office Act 2023. This legislation replaced Chief Justice of India with a union minister on the selection panel for appointing Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. So here this article is talking about election of Chief Election Commissioner as well as Election Commissioner. So here, what is the process of appointment of Election Commissioner and Chief Election Commissioner? This year Chief Election Commissioner is also very important because removal of this Chief Election Commission resolution is in news, right? So that will be very important. And now one more thing which is added here is, now Chief Justice of India steps away to take out the petitions. Is not taking the petitions related to this elections of appointment of Chief Election Commissioner as well as other election commissioners. So this is a major issue. So if you are getting this kind of major issues in news, you have to know the basic thing. Who is he? Why he is there? Why he stepped out? Everything. Okay, now let us see here this article. If you want to understand this, you need to know the basics. If you're talking about appointment of election commissioners, we have Chief Election Commissioners and as well as election commissioners. Regarding those appointments, we have one act, that is CEC and EC, Appointment, Conditions of Office and Terms of Office Act of 2023. And this act will regulate appointments and as well as removal of this election commission as well as Chief Election Commissioner. In 2023 Act, it mandates that who will be appointing these people? Obviously, President of India will be appointing these people. But the names will be given by a select committee, right? So that select committee includes Prime Minister, Union Minister and Leader of Opposition. And this act was contested on the grounds of contravening Supreme Court decision in Anup Barwal versus Union of India case 2023, which recommends inclusion of Chief Justice of India in the committee. So actually in 2023 there was Supreme Court case and the name of that case is Anup Barwal versus Union of India case. In that case, Supreme Court said that we have to include Chief Justice also as the part of selection committee. And after this, what happened? This act had been amended and they said that in this selection committee, who will be the members? Prime Minister, Union Minister and Leader of Opposition. Okay, so here there are certain petitions which are before the Supreme Court related to this act, whether we have to include this Chief Justice or not. So here, if you see in your ethics, you will be having a topic of impartiality. And even there is one concept called as, if you are the member who has to decide any case, can you decide the judgment? Can you give the judgment based on the case where you have been involved? No, right? So here this case is talking about involvement of CJI in, we have to include the CJI in this committee. If CJI is there in that bench, is that right? If CJI says that yes, CJI should be included in that committee, is that right? No. So because of this, now CJI had been stepped out. So CJI is not taking this petition. Are you understanding here? So here no one should hear their own case. So here that is the thing, guys. That is the thing that you have to remember. So now this petition is about inclusion of CJI into the selection committee of CEC and as well as EC. So because of this, CJI had been stepped out of this taking of petition. Clear? So here you have to know about certain facts regarding this election commission as well as Chief Election Commissioner. You have to see the articles, you have to see the process, all those things that we have discussed in our earlier classes, right? So I'm not going to take that once again. So just revise your notes. I don't know today what happened. Okay, see these questions, guys. First one, consider the following statements regarding CEC. You have to answer this question. First one, first statement is the Election Commission is a constitutional body established under Article 324. CEC can be removed from office in the same manner of a Supreme Court judge. Next, third statement, the Constitution prescribes the qualifications for appointment of CEC. Fourth one, the Election Commission conducts elections to panchayats and municipalities. Can't you see? Tell me what is the answer for this question. 1, 2, 3, how many? 1 and 2, how many? Why not 3? Actually, UPSC will use this trap. Our constitution prescribes. Okay, this is the one common word. Second one is not comes under judicial review. If there is any statement which says that not comes under judicial review, for sure 100% it will be right. Everything comes under judicial review. Nothing is excluded from judicial review. So if you see it not comes under judicial review, blindly keep that cross. Okay, and next one is constitution prescribes. Okay, that is also one trap UPSC can use, but sometimes it may be correct. It will be like 1%. So you have to see if there is any article talks about that, then only we have to think that that is prescribed in our constitution. Mostly 99.99% the statements will be wrong. So 0.1% there is a chance of becoming right. So you have to think carefully. So constitution didn't prescribe any qualification for appointment of CEC. Okay, and this is also wrong because we have state election commission will be conducting elections from panchayats and municipalities. So 4 and 3 is wrong. So answer will be A, 1 and 2. See this next question. It is about PSLV. Can you see? Okay, see now. Consider the following statements about PSLV. First one is PSLV is a fourth stage launch vehicle using both solid and liquid fuels. Second one is PSLV is mainly used for launching satellites into geostationary orbit. Third one is PSLV is known as ISRO's workhorse. Fourth one is PSLV can launch satellites to sun synchronous orbit. 1, 3, 4. Why not 2? So regarding this geo and as well as high Earth orbit, we have to use GSLV, not PSLV, right? So you can eliminate this second one. Answer is 1, 3 and 4. Okay. That's it guys. By this I am concluding. Thank you so much for watching. And one more thing here is, if you like this video, please to hit the like button and please to share this class to your friends. And do subscribe to Rathor's IAS Academy. Thank you so much guys.